This next person is somebody who ran for governor a long time ago, in 1996. That's a long time in political years. But he recently ran for the U.S. Senate. He has been a native New Hampshire activist for years and years and years, a graduate of Trinity High in Manchester. He works as a partner with Divine Milmet and practices on commercial litigation. He serves as the chairman of the board of St. Mary's Bank Credit Union, the Bishop's Charitable Assistance Fund, Moore Center's Capital Campaign Committee, and that's just a couple of the things that he does in the support of what we say is the citizen part of government. The ability to go and do the work that we do ourselves so that government doesn't have to, the charitable organizations. He is a fierce defender of the Constitution and ran for the U.S. Senate. And as I kind of like to say, even though I believe Kelly Ayotte has gone far beyond my expectation, has turned out to be one pretty good senator. She's saying all the right things, voting all the right ways as far as this conservative is concerned. But this next person just ran a little bit out of track. But I have an idea that he's going to be back in politics very, very soon. And I think I'm pretty sure that I can announce him as being one of the leading contenders, if not the contender, to be the next governor of the state of New Hampshire, Ovide LaMontagne.
Thank you. Thank you, Skip, for that kind introduction, and thank you for being here. I stand before you a citizen activist. I don't hold office. I've never held elective public office, but I've been involved, as many of you have as citizens. And you know what that means? Raise your hand if you're not an office holder, but you're a citizen. You're here today to become part of our system, our process. Thank you. Those of you who have held up your hands, then the people who are elected, look at those folks. They are the sovereign. We, the citizen activists and the citizens, are the king of this country and of the state and of this community. And these folks who are elected serve us, they don't rule us. Is that right? Right. And they know it. That's why they're here. You know, we have lost our way in America, and we've lost our way in New Hampshire. And I want to talk about that in a minute. But before that, I want to tell you that, first of all, isn't this a great Diane Bitter production? Isn't she first class? And in keeping with the Diane Bitter tradition, if you've been part of the program, she gives you a little email with some instructions. And the instructions to me were, A, Ovide, you're the closer, which means you're Papelbon. And I said, Papelbon, what does that mean? She says, no runs, no hits, no errors, minimum number of pitches, get on and out and win the game. I said, all right, Diane, I'm there. Secondly, I want to thank the voice of New Hampshire, Jeff Shittis, who's done a great job filling in for Charlie Sherman, and he's going to continue to be a great voice for New Hampshire conservatives. And of course, Skip Murphy with the grok. I mean, it's unbelievable, the power of the internet, the power of social media. And he is the social media, I would say, web-based voice of New Hampshire conservatism, if not national conservatism. Skip, thank you very much for your leadership. I also want to comment on the prior speakers. As the close, you have a chance to do that. And these are fine, fine leaders, people who've worked with us and for us here in the last year particularly well. And I'd like to say that with respect to Representative Pamela Tucker, she is sheer grace. Speaker O'Brien, sheer guts. Representative Murphy, Rookie of the Year, man. You're doing a great job. Thank you very much for your hard work. Let's see, Will Smith, I consider him the architect. If you spend any time with Will, he's thinking, he's designing, he's a great leader, the architect. Nancy Stiles, the lion of and the heart of the Senate. She's a great ballast, as Skip mentioned. And she is going to continue to be a great leader for us. Thank you, Nancy. Chris Sununu, I call him the cleanup hitter of Team Sununu. You know, he's got his father's brains, his mother's personality, and Johnny Sununu's achievements to back him up. And hopefully with your support, Chris will continue to be a very good executive counselor. And Thaddeus McConnor, first of all, with a first name like Thaddeus, he's got the second best first name in New Hampshire politics. Huh? What you think? Yeah, that's right. It's supposed to be funny. You know, with a name like Ovide, okay? It builds character. And Thaddeus has said the same thing. He's the gentle genius. If you've heard him or speak before, he's really very thoughtful, very bright, very incisive, and he's a constitutional conservative of the first order. We're grateful that he's here, and also grateful that he's willing to be a candidate for president. Of course, Jack Kimball. Only one word for Jack. The fighter. I mean, he is a fighter, and he's a fighter for us. Thank you, Jack. A citizen leader, a citizen advocate. Okay, a couple thoughts. When I was running for the United States Senate, people asked me, what's the greatest threat to New Hampshire? And I looked at them and I said, the greatest threat to New Hampshire, if you don't know, is the federal government. Think about that. That's the federal government on two levels. First of all, this runaway government of ours in Washington is going to kill us if we don't stop it in its tracks and bring it back to within the Constitution, which is a limiting document, not a living document. Are you with me on that? Bring that government back into the four corners of the Constitution. We saw the first phase of the Great American Reformation in 2010, and a lot of you were part of that. We're starting to realign power and devolve power back from Washington to the states. The second great phase of the Great American Reformation is to make sure that Barack Obama is not reelected President of the United States. Let's make sure there's a conservative president elected. And in that regard, we New Hampshire voters play a very special role. And do you feel the burden of that role? You should. It's an awesome role because the rest of the country is going to see what happens in New Hampshire, in our New Hampshire primary. And we're going to need to send a message to the country as to who the most conservative candidate is who can win. And it is about winning. We're not making a statement this primary other than this is the person who we think can go from here and go the distance and win in November of 2012. It's an awesome responsibility. I welcome it. I know you welcome it. Are you ready to work hard from now until November 2012 to get that president elected? Great. If we get a Republican majority in the House and the Senate in Washington, a Republican president, we can start doing the things that we need to do to save this country. Jack, I would disagree with you on this. We are not at a crossroads. We are in crisis. We have to feel the urgency of the crisis before us that is around us. That's why you and I, as citizen activists, cannot give up. We take a little bit of a breath in the summer, but let's get back to work very, very quickly and very intensely after Labor Day if we're sort of catching our breath now. The second level of the threat to New Hampshire is what the federal government's been doing to us as a state. And we only have ourselves to blame for that. We have ourselves to blame when Washington comes into our state and says, we know how to educate your kids. And we say, great, come on into our classroom. And we let down the people of New Hampshire. And we say, you know what, we really don't know how to oversee our business climate. We want Washington to regulate us. And we let Washington in. And we make a huge mistake when we say, Washington, you know what, with your dollars for Medicare and Medicaid, we're going to let you tell us how to run health care in New Hampshire. It's about time we have a governor in New Hampshire who's going to say to the federal government, get out of the classroom, get out of the operating room, get out of the boardroom, do what you're supposed to do under the Constitution. Let us take care of our own people. Thank you very much. Uncle Sam, your day in New Hampshire on these issues is drawing to a close if we elect the right people. Governor Lynch does not deserve re-election in New Hampshire. We have to assume that he is going to run for re-election, and we have to make sure that we promote and nominate the strongest candidate to face him and take it to him on the issues, and to challenge him on the very things he's done. God willing, and Betty approving, I hope I'm that person. God bless you, God bless America, God bless the great state of New Hampshire. Thank you.
The great thing about Ovide is that those of us in New Hampshire can actually say his name, Ovide LaMontagne. And if you've never met his wife, Betty, that is a great New Hampshire couple. Betty and Ovide make such a wonderful couple and have represented New Hampshire so well. So Ovide, make sure you say God bless to your wife. And please, please, please tell her that we're behind you 100%. So.